Really hoping this isn't a theme of today's episode. Marcus Sheldon, our star boy, it has to be said, the Premier League second top goal scorer, PFA Young Player of the Year. There's a slew of teams interested, and I've had a bid, albeit it's £29 million from Tottenham. He's valued at up to 47 million. To be honest, for us, he's worth a lot more than that. His goal scoring is the reason we got promoted from the Championship. It's the reason we were able to stay up in the Premier League for the year just gone. Staying up in the Premier League to us is worth close to £100 million. So, yeah, a bid of 29 million is not even going to tempt me. I don't even feel like I want to counter-negotiate here. I don't want to entertain this. I have got to be a little bit concerned. I've been told he might be unhappy and unsettled if I don't sell him. I feel a little like an unhappy Sheldon is better than a happy version of any striker out there I could sign. Welcome back, by the way, to episode number 50 of Park to Prem. It's part 2 of our summer transfer special. It feels like deja vu. We are building a squad which is probably only Championship quality, and I've just got to hope that's enough. Let's run the intro. We sold players last episode. Today I need to buy some. Before we get into things today, I do just want to say a massive thank you for the support on this series. 50 episodes of any series, be it Football Manager or otherwise, it's quite a lot of videos. And if you're one of those people still watching it on the daily, you're one of the hardcore. Appreciate you. I've mentioned it during the New Year's Day episode, but with the delay to FM25, I was a bit anxious thinking, well, what am I going to do for 5 months? And I came up with this idea of a save game with English-only players. Obviously, you guys have been able to have access to the save game to play it yourself. And I'm really pleased that so many people have jumped on board and really embraced this series for what it is, a struggle. And I'll be honest, it's probably going to be a struggle for this next year as well. Of course, we are still predicted to finish rock bottom of the league, and as we kind of discovered last episode, there is going to be an issue when it comes to recruiting players of the quality I need. Simply put, Premier League players don't want to join me, and the Championship players that do want to join me aren't good enough, except Philip Schmitz. Philip Schmitz we're still waiting on an answer from. Obviously, the fact he's got offers from the likes of Chelsea now makes me think he's probably not going to want to join me at centre-back. Now, between episodes, I have just taken it upon myself to offer out a load of our youth players to our various affiliates to hopefully get them a little bit of development. On top of that, I am hiring some new staff, some new goalkeeping coaches and stuff. Our actual coaching at the club is in a really, really good spot. If I just go to the staff screen here, you can see when it comes to coaching, hopefully editing Jack remembers to move my face, we are actually topping out the Premier League charts in every category of coaching except goalkeeping. I've got 2 goalkeeping coaches coming, alongside some scouts and some other various staff roles. In terms of the players joining us right now, well, Schmitz, we've given him an offer. I don't think he's going to be joining us, given the fact that Chelsea have made a bid. The other man who I'm a little more confident of signing, a familiar face in Philip Rolk. Obviously, £5 million is not cheap. His wages are not cheap either. But ultimately, he was one of the reasons we stayed up last year, and I'm kind of coming around to this idea that the team may not even be an improvement going into the new season. It might be a very similar squad to last year, and if it is going to be a similar squad, probably should sign Rolk, who we had on loan last year. To be fair, I feel like even as a longer-term kind of backup in the centre-back area in the Premier League, he will be a useful player for us. He's 24 years old, obviously, great important matches, super consistent. Admittedly, he didn't have a super standout year by any means last year, but for £5 million, I think he's still a pretty good buy. Between episodes as well, I did set up a load of new recruitment focuses just to hopefully find us some new players. There are players in the various categories I've got kind of scouted here. Not all of them are all that exciting, except this man, Dylan Hendricks. I quite like the look of him. 20 years old, English. I think I inquired about him very early on in pre-season. It might have even been before the season was over. He's injury prone, but he does look really talented. Sadly, he didn't want to join me permanently. And, well, I was going to say, Man City don't want to loan him to me. They do want to loan him to me, but the loan itself will cost me £5 million if he's playing for us, and if I don't use him, it's a £10 million loan, which for obvious reasons, we're not going to do. If I'm being honest, having looked through the different recruitment focuses we've got going on, I'm just going to hope some new results appear. If I tick the realistic transfers option, you'll notice that all those star players that look like they could be really useful, yet none of them actually want to join me. I mean, Lloyd Weston here might be interested in joining us in loan. He's one of the players who appeared on that list. He is a left-footed left-back who could also play right-back in an emergency. I'll be honest, I don't necessarily feel like we need wing-back options. The added issue here is the fact his wages aren't exactly cheap. In fact, if I loaned him, he'd be the highest earner at the club. which just, that doesn't really work, does it? Ben Nelson is one player that my scouts have flagged as an interesting option. I'll be honest, I do like the look of him. He's not the quickest centre-back by any means, and as a depth centre-back option, he might be useful. Of course, the big issue when me viewing him as a depth centre-back is this, the transfer value. 14 to 17 million for a depth centre-back just doesn't really make any sense, and I think when you compare him versus Rolk, well, I know who's better, and one of these players 3 times cheaper than the other. Sheldon is frustrated about not being able to pursue a move. Mate, the money just wasn't right, and I can't afford to sell you. What will it take you to commit your future to the club? He needs to be playing Champions League football, and that's not going to realistically happen unless he finds a new club. This man's never watched a Park to Prem before, has he? This is one of those situations where I can make a promise and it backfires. I think my best option is just to offer him a pay rise. Then when he declines it, hope I can play it off. That's not worked, has it? He just wants to leave. Part of me wants to ask what the asking price is that they want here in terms of as a fair number, but there's just no number that I could give here that's going to be fair. Oh, I'm going to make a promise that I'll sell him for 58 million, but if someone bids that, I'm probably not going to accept it. I'm going to hedge my bets on the fact that no one will bid 58 million for Sheldon, and as a result, I won't have to sell him. I mean, if someone now makes a bid of that amount, World War III might break out, but we'll deal with that when it happens. Just in a little bit of transfer news, Colin George has left the building, by the way. 600k he's departed for to go to Watford. Good striker on his day for us when we used him for a couple of games. I say that. He literally never played for us, did he? Signed for 150k, flipped on for 4 times the profit in 2 years. That feels good to me. That's all I'll say. Have got some bids for Ollie Johnson here. I'll be honest, they are not kind of near the valuation I need to consider selling him. I'd rather keep him around as a squad player as opposed to selling him for way below his value. Mark McCann is one of our players that is in the youth team setup who's just never going to play for us. We've had a bid here for, well, not a great sum of money, but an okay sum of money. 50k Scunthorpe, you know what? We'll take that. And in some other news, Preston have made an offer to loan Townsend. Now, of course, Townsend had a really stinky loan spell at Bromley. He actually played okay when you look at the goals and assists, but his actual ratings and his performances for Bromley weren't all that. Preston have now made an offer to loan him as a regular starter. Preston in this universe, if you're wondering, in League One. So it's a little bit of a progression on where he was last year. You know what? I'm going to accept that. If they play him as a regular starter, gives him a chance to develop. Ditchfield, who we signed from Liverpool at the end of the current season just as a free transfer, has issues of injuries. But the good news for us is he was willing to go on loan to Bromley, our affiliate. So he's going to go on loan there. We'll keep a close eye on his development. If he stays fit, he could actually be quite a useful centre-back, I think. Harvey Elliott still is a free agent, by the way. I kind of really want him still. I know he's not going to want to talk to me now, is he? I mean, if no one makes a bid on him, maybe he'll lower his wage demands enough. I feel like that's what I've got to hope for now, although looking at things here, he is wanted by a few teams. Birmingham have made a bid for Sheldon. He's got no interest in joining them. The bid's worth 38 million. It's not even close to what we need. Axel Durant is actually one of our youth players with the best current ability. I sent him a loan offer to go and play for Bromley, our affiliate. He's turned them down. I'm angry on behalf of Bromley. That would have been a great loan move for him. Also, if you, in the next few continue, see me signing people, it's not players, it's just staff. Introducing our new recruitment analyst. He's a bit camera shy, but he's a very good recruitment analyst. So welcome, Ben. Oh, okay. Finally a transfer. Hallelujah. It is not the best wages ever, but you know what? Rolk is joining us, and I couldn't be happier. He is a very familiar player to us, a player who was pretty important in keeping us up last year, and I think long-term he can be a really useful squad player too. I love to do these blocked-out starting 11s. I'm realising the blocked-out starting 11 I've got is the exact same team we had last year now. I still feel like I want quality at centre-back and potentially at defensive mid, potentially at centre-attacking mid as well. You know, if Harvey wants to talk to us, that would be nice. I'm a little bit concerned by our depth at centre-back. We've got Hurry, Ariambi and Rolk as our main men, but then behind them, Edmondson is the immediate backup centre-back. Of course, we sold Will Fish, we've sold JJ, we've sold Mbete. They were the backups previously. James Burgess could technically, I suppose, be a backup centre-back option for us, although I don't really love his lack of heading, but you know what? Maybe he could be a better option than what we had last year in that regard. Still feel like if I don't find a new starting centre-back, probably do need to sign someone who is going to at least be a better backup. I love Edmondson, I really do, but his legs are kind of going off kind of quickly. His physicals have dropped off, and he's only 32. I'm still regretting giving him a contract that keeps him here till he's 37. In retrospect, an error. I mean, in a dream world, Philip Schmidt's still joins us, but I think that might be a dream world I'm living in that isn't a reality. I've just noticed here, AC Milan have now made a bid too. I mean, do I try and up my contract offer a bit? He was already going to be our highest earner if we signed him. If I up it to 45k, I mean, he thinks they're acceptable. I don't think that's going to make a difference. I just don't see him coming to us. And I'm looking through these other centre-back options. There's no one really jumping out at me. I already talked about Ben Nelson at Hearts. He is actually a good centre-back, but just not for the price. The price is a slightly outrageous one. Was just looking through the centre-back options here listed by reputation. Nelson Abbey is actually an interesting centre-back. Looks like he's lacking aerial ability when you look at his polygon, but that is more his heading than his jumping reach. He's actually got really, really good physicals, and crucially, he's left-footed. Now, he was relegated with Southampton. They signed him for 7.75 million. Good news for us is he is partially English. The bad news, I feel like he might cost me a little bit more than I want to pay. Yeah, 14 to 17 million. Also wants a wage between 50 and 67k. If I just compare him here with Arian B, I mean, he is maybe a slightly better player in some regards. Better physicals, better speed. Definitely not as good with the ball at his feet. But as an option at centre-back, he could be quite good. It's just that price and the potential wages, isn't it? I mean, we have £50 million to spend. I need to start spending some of it sooner rather than later. I'm going to make them an offer, but I am going to use some instalments. I'll offer them 6 million up front, 10 million over 3 years. They've come back with a bid worth 21 million. I'm hoping there's a middle ground to be found here. How about 18 million? With instalments, they don't like that. I'll up this slightly. £18.5 million for a centre-back who would probably just be a backup centre-back. I feel like I need to get the scout report on him to judge him more, but the physicals do look kind of promising. Of our current centre-backs, I'd argue Hoey is the weak link. And he probably is better than Hoey, albeit he does lack a little bit of that aerial ability. He's interested in discussing terms with that 50,000 to 67,000. That is a tiny bit concerning, isn't it? Right, important player. He opens up his asking at £79,000. I mean, we are now talking Harvey Elliott money, aren't we? How much is he on at Southampton? Right now he's on 40,000 there, and he's trying to get double the salary off me. There's not even any point in negotiating this, is there? There just isn't. Also, apparently his agent fiercely dislikes me. I don't know what I've done to you, Adam. I don't know who you are. I am going to have to walk away from that one, annoyingly. But we have signed someone. It's another recruitment analyst. I know. We're making all the exciting acquisitions today. I am coming to the conclusion that if I don't get Schmidt, I maybe just have to spend big on Ben Nelson just to bring in a capable centre-back. Not left-footed, which is a bit unfortunate because I would like a left-footed centre-back of sorts. But he is a nifty little player. Rudy Shirtliff is on loan at Burnley for the year. Want to see if this guy can develop a little bit. The 19-year-old has a bit of potential, promised regular football in the Premier League. I feel like if he's playing regularly for Burnley, it might hamper them. So it's a good loan deal for everyone. Real Madrid have now made an offer for Schmidt. Something tells me that I need to give up any dream of this guy signing for me. It's not happening, is it? Bernard Brennan, I think, might be one of our best young players. He's frequently on our club home screen as our hot prospect. In fact, you can see he's there now. 19 years old, a loan spell at Coventry secured for him. Hoping he's going to get regular minutes for them and absolutely thrive. Has bags of potential, great determination. Going to be keeping a very close eye on him. And in some other news, James Wiles is going on loan to Watford. The 19-year-old is a centre-back with some decent little potential, super consistent player. Big concern for him right now is his current ability is only that of a League One team. He's just headed to Watford on loan. Incidentally, in League One, they're predicted to do quite well in League One this year, so hopefully he's going to put in some good performances. If he develops, he could be a solution at centre-back in the next year or two. I know I dismissed him last video. I do wonder if Ollie Watkins could be an okay striking option for 1 year as a bit of a rental. 34 years old. He wants to be a staff member. I'll offer you a fringe player. Come on, mate. Be a squad player. Okay, never mind. He just doesn't want to play football with me. Harvey Elliott is still listed. Does he want to talk to me again? Not yet. I'll call him again tomorrow. I was thinking about Gabadebo here. This is what I think about when late at night. I've obviously signed him thinking he is going to be a left-footed wing-back option for us. But he can already play on the right-hand side of midfield. It's like he's so good at so many positions already. I think he's going to be adaptable in learning positions quickly. I feel like because I don't have depth at right wing back, it might actually be smart to train him to play right wing back instead of left wing back. I might be cooking too hard here, but I do feel like this is an area of the pitch right wing back, where at the moment my backup options are Ajaria and then McConnell. And to be honest, I can see a world where they both end up starting for us. McConnell at kind of that defensive midfielder role, and then Ajaria at right wing back. With those two, obviously in the starting 11, there's no right wing back on the bench. We have Wallace as an option at left wing back. I'm wondering if Gabadebo could be the right-footed Wallace. I say that. He is left-footed, but he's got a strong right foot. But yeah, I feel like right wing-back might be the play for him. One area of the pitch I've not really talked about yet, but it certainly is a concern, is the striking area. We have Sheldon and Rashid Mohammed. Rashid, by the way, has picked up a little bit of an injury. Think he should be back for the start of the season. But behind those two players, the immediate options are Christopher Alozzi, who's a decent little striker, but at 21 years old, it's safe to say 3 goals in 19 wasn't exactly a standout opening season for him. And then Ollie Johnson really is the other striking option we have. Last year we had, of course, loanees come in to fill that gap in the team. I feel like getting in a backup striker might actually be a priority that I'm downplaying and really should be at the forefront of my mind. I look at this starting at 11 and bench now. I feel okay. I say that. It's literally the same team as last year, isn't it? I've done over an hour in transfer specials between the start of today's episode and yesterday's video, and nothing's been solved. I'm looking through the list of strikers that I could possibly sign. I'll be honest, it's not an entirely inspiring list. Gudjonsson here, who I think, is he the son of Igor Gudjonsson? He might be the son of, I don't know. He's brother with Daniel Gudjonsson. There's so many Gudjonssons that they're all English, but presumably with Icelandic, he's born in London. They have to be former Chelsea man Gudjonsson's children here. And if they are, I suddenly feel really old. Either way, I have Daniel scouted. Daniel's not so good. But his brother, who plays for Leeds, is actually not a bad little player. Really, really consistent. Dreads big matches. I mean, he's a bit of a big, meaty man with aerial ability. The issue's going to be the fact he's on £83,000 a week at Leeds. Yeah, he wants £78,000 to £97,000. I can't give him that. Could I loan him from Leeds? I could. They want me to pay all his wages. I can't afford it. Amadou Diallo. It's not the Diallo you're probably thinking of. This guy went to Bordeaux and has lived there forever. He's done the Andy Carroll road to glory with Bordeaux all the way back to Ligue 1 in this universe. He's just not very good, is he? I keep coming back to the fact that Nwaneri is available. It's just the wages which are going to be the big stumbling block with possibly signing this guy. He's in the last year of his contract with Arsenal. Comes with the added bonus of his versatility. Last year he was on loan in the Championship with Bournemouth. Did get promoted with them, to be fair. Hates in poor matches, injury proneness. If he was available on a free, I'd probably go for it. It's too much of a punt to sign him for 14 to 18 million, isn't it? I mean, Jimmy J. Morgan is just listed as available. I feel like I could do a lot worse for £6 million. He scored some big goals for us last year. The issue is probably going to be the wage demands. If I offer £6 million, they've just accepted it. Okay, our bid for Jimmy J. Morgan has been accepted. Wants to become a regular starter as Sheldon leaves the club. I don't intend on selling Sheldon, so he can be a squad player. He wants £30,000, which isn't cheap, and a relegation release clause. I'm going to try and knock down the wages a little bit. I'll keep the relegation release clause in. Really, he's coming in to be a body and just an option at striker, a bit like he was for us last year, to be fair. 24 years old, has a lot of pros. I think for £6 million, it's a sensible signing, if not an exciting signing. I am wondering, has Harvey Elliott changed his mind yet? Harvey, talk to me. Do you want to? He doesn't. Okay. I'll call him again tomorrow. Matthew Miller here is 21 years old. I was looking for a striker and he popped up and I was a bit like, I've not heard of this guy. He is a regen. He's right-footed. I might need a backup right back. He can also play centre attacking mid, right mid, and striker for some reason. Super consistent player. He's got a release clause of 17 million. It's not cheap, but he's quite good. Am I going crazy? I feel like the most logical thing to do here is just compare him with Ajaria. Oh, he's actually quite a good right-back option who might have long-term upside with his potential. I want to see what Matthew Miller's wage demands are. He's just been, stuck at Ipswich, obviously. He's got a release clause to teams in a higher division. I feel like I'd have to pay significantly more if I wanted him in other circumstances. Fringe player. Wages 22k. No relegation release clause. This man wants to be my friend. Okay, 5-year deal accepted, £25,000 a week. I feel like I came to a revelation after yesterday's video that I am in a situation here where I am going to have to just overpay for players. English players come at a premium when you're not doing an English-only save game. I'm in a situation here where there's maybe a handful of players. I look at Will Lancashire as another example. There's a handful of players, realistically, I could look to sign that are going to make a difference for me. And I can afford to bring them in, even if it's an overpay. I've just got to shovel the money their way. Lancashire, we had that £20 million bid accepted. I'm going to see if that'll be accepted again and if he wants to talk to me again. Because I do feel like he'd be another good striking option. I feel like having been really conservative spending, now I've hit a point where it's like, you know what, I've had enough. We're going to throw some money about. Townsend going on loan to Preston is a really good one. This is probably his last chance to really develop as a player and convince me he has a chance in our team to, well, be a top quality player. Did not develop on his year at Bromley. Maybe Preston will treat him differently. Waiting to hear back for this bid for Lancashire. It's been accepted. Still doesn't want to talk to me. Right, I'll call him back. I'll add him to the same phone listing where I have Harvey Elliott's number. I'll keep calling him up daily and seeing if he has any interest. Harvey Elliott is still a free transfer. I tell you what, he's still interested in joining us. He would be just such a good player. Relegation release clause, match highest earner clause is where kind of this idea of a deal falls apart. I'm going to keep the minimum release clause to teams in the Champions League in, but I'm going to up it significantly to 60 million and lock it in. If we get relegated, I'll lower his relegation release clause to 10 million. I would love him to just come down to maybe 55 to 60,000 pounds a week on the wages. That would definitely make this a more stomachable deal. Who am I kidding? He wants 99k. Okay, I've upped it to 65k. He's gone straight back to 99. He's not even negotiating at this point, is he? £70,000, Harvey? This is just pointless, isn't it? I don't know why I even waited. I'll give him one last offer and hope that he might accept it. 25% of any sell-on, 4-year deal. I've included the release clauses you wanted, mate. I don't know what more I could do here. I guess I could just throw in bonuses, couldn't I? I feel comfortable saying now I couldn't really offer him more than this. I guess I could up some of these bonuses, but this is a stupid contract offer. He still rejected it. I'm not even mad. I might sound mad. I am a little mad, but I'm not even mad. If you're wondering about Schmitz, by the way, he's not replied to me. I mean, there's lots of people made bids for him, so he's probably weighing them all up. He's almost certainly going to Real Madrid or Chelsea or AC Milan. Probably not Wanderers. Okay, another signing, another familiar face, Jimmy J. Morgan for 6 million. So far this summer transfer window, I'm just signing the players who were on loan last year, aren't I? I mean, that feels like all I've really been able to do, to be honest. Morgan made 7 appearances in Nottingham Forest and they signed him for 15 million. We've got him for 6. Bargain. Matthew Mellor set to sign for £17 million for a 21-year-old right back who can't even play right wing back yet. I might be losing the plot. This is definitely an overpay, but I just feel like I'm in a situation here where I need to spend some money. I need a depth right back option, and he ticks a lot of boxes. It's probably a big overpay, but you know what? If he's got the potential our staff think he's got, of which they think he's got potentially Premier League quality, I think it's a good signing. If you're wondering, by the way, what does that signing mean for that whole idea of training Gabadebo to play right wing back? I think I'm going to try and train Nahum here to play both sides. Because he can already play so many different positions and he's picked them up to a competent level, I think he must have quite good versatility, which is a hidden attribute which influences how quickly players pick up positions. Very often when players have this weird assortment of positions, it's because at junior level, i.e. in Gabadebo's case here, for Man City, he was probably played in these areas just at youth level, and as a result he picked up the positions by playing them. My hope is that by the start of, I don't know, the winter transfer window, by the end of the year, he can play on the left and right hand side. I feel like you always need a wing back who can play either side. He could be the man for us. I've been asked to reopen talks with Will Lancashire. Okay, well, we'll make a bid. While I'm here, I will just ask his agent. What does your client want here? How much? 25 to 32k and a relegation release clause. I kind of wish the release clause wasn't there, but I've not got any option here to remove the non-negotiables. I've asked them to lower the wage demands. They've agreed to lower them slightly. Maybe there's a deal to be had here. Schmitz still hasn't decided if he's going to Real Madrid or Sheffield Wednesday. This is one of the players with the weirdest assortment of teams that have actually made bids on him. Like, there's a weird mix. Right, Willy boy, I need you to be reasonable here. He's probably going to be more of a squad player for us despite the £20 million fee. Oh, okay, he wants the relegation release clause. If I give him 30k but remove the relegation release clause, is he going to be chill with that? Okay, he's more chill than he was last video. I want to lower his wages to that 30k, but I'll increase the signing on fee and agent fee. Come on, Will. Come on. I know I got rid of the relegation release clause. I'm not taking the mick that much. If he scores goals for us, you know what? Every goal he scores, £10,000. Okay, apparently that wasn't enough for him. I'll up the signing on fee by £500,000. Mate, I've done him a massive solid there. 5-year deal, no release clause. It is not a cheap deal. I feel like he's probably just worth it. He's got crazy speed, great attacking ability. I think he probably is marginally better than Rashid Mohammed. At the very least, he gives me a proper good attacking option to bring on off the bench. At best, he could be a solid Premier League goal scorer. Axel Durant, who is the youngster who I really wanted to get a loan somewhere and turn down Bromley, he has agreed to go to Lincoln on loan. I need to get him playing some first-team football somewhere. Lincoln C, offering him League One football, I think is a good mix. Lincoln were relegated 2 years ago from the Championship, failed to get promoted last year. Still have a high media prediction. Should get some decent minutes with them. To the shock of absolutely no one, Philip Schmitz has agreed to go to Real Madrid. I mean, who would have thought? Part of me's wondering if they'll loan him to me. They would. They want me to pay all of his wages and also a mandatory future fee. No thank you, Real. I know there's some people screaming at their screen right now. You know the Walter White kind of gif where he's like in the car shouting with the window up. That's some of you watching me do this, trying to talk me out of it. 20 million for Will Lancashire is an overpay. I'm not going to pretend otherwise, but crucially, I need a goal scorer. I need more quality in the final third, and I just can't find it anywhere but with Will. £20 million spent. I bigged up, didn't I, all of last episode and the start of this episode of all the sales that we'd made and the fact we've been good. I mean, the fans are pleased with this signing. I think he's a quality player. There's pretty much no money left now. I've been doing a proper think as to how we're going to line up for this coming year. I am thinking that Wallace over Hutchinson might be the play at left back just for that added defensive ability. I know Hutchinson's a weapon from set pieces that we're losing, but we'll still be able to bring him on. I was weighing up if maybe he could come in ahead of Aaron Ramsey, but I think when you look at the head-to-head comparison here, Aaron Ramsey is just the better option, at least right now, at centre attacking mid. I feel bad having Hutchinson on the bench, but as kind of a weapon to bring on off the bench with players like Rashid Mohammed, I mean, that is something that we just didn't really have last year. Good, attacking, reliable talent that I could sub on. I feel like much like last year, this starting 11 and even the bench that I've kind of blocked out here, it's going to change as the season goes on. Players are going to come in and out of favour. I still feel like I want to give Ajaria the nod at right wing back. Against all my better judgment, there's just something that makes me feel like I've got to persist with him. It's easy, I guess, to forget he's 21 years old. In many save games, you look at a player with this kind of ability and this kind of potential and think, I've got to play him more. Because he's been around for so long, it's kind of, I don't know, I kind of view him as a player where I think, has he developed enough? The reality is, he's played in 5 different divisions in 5 years. He was always going to struggle with that first year in the Premier League. He still has potential. My staff still think he's a decent Premier League player now. I feel like I've got to give him some faith, but I do feel like McConnell, who we played at right wing back a lot last year, is probably better than someone like Dolk in the defensive mid position. I kind of said at the start of yesterday's video, defensive mid was a priority. I still feel like I'd like a new centre attacking mid and a new defensive mid if possible. I mean, I said I wanted centre backs as well. I've not signed anything I really needed, have I? I mean, we've signed Rolk, I guess. And Lancashire. Lancashire has to be good. I have got some reservations about his aggression, bravery, teamwork, and his balance just as a pressing forward, but I feel like it's too risky, I think, for me to go with 2 attacking midfielders. With this kind of formation, it's actually really important for the pressing forward who drops in often to drop in. I feel like having 2 advanced forwards would kind of ruin the way the attacking midfielder can move between the 2 strikers. I mean, you could maybe go with Sheldon at pressing forward, but I don't feel like that makes the best use of some of his technicals and just his all-around ability. He's so good carrying the ball forward as that kind of spearhead to the attack. I mean, I've spent £48 million. If there's any player I'm second guessing, it is Matthew Miller. I feel like I've looked at the professional personality and how well-rounded he is, and I feel like he could just be a super useful squad player. I do stand by that assessment. I don't think we'll know if he's a good or bad transfer for a little while. The start of the season, by the way, is still like a month away. This is one of those rare pre-seasons where I can probably use it as an opportunity to actually have the team gel. Over the last few years, I feel like I've been making so many of my transfers really late on in the transfer window. This time around, I feel chill. I still would like some depth at centre-back, but I feel like if I'm going to find it, it's going to have to come through loans or maybe free transfers. But as we've already established, there's not really good free transfers out there. He kind of reminds me of Ollie Johnson, but better. I'm shocked he's loan listed by Everton. He looks like a really good little player. His wages aren't that outrageous, and they're actually not asking for a crazy amount here. I'd rather just pay all his wages rather than potentially having to overpay if he's playing more of a squad role for us. They want him to be a regular starter. That is going to have to be nudged down to squad player for this to even work. They want this high unused monthly sub fee. It would total £4 million if I don't use him, but I'm signing him to be a squad player, so he isn't going to be used. I have managed to negotiate it down, so it's essentially a £3 million deal if we don't use him often. I actually really like him as an option. I feel like my scouts are really underrating him. Last year, 12 goals in the Championship. It's kind of a fourth, probably fifth choice striking option. I feel like we could do a lot worse. I love how good he is in the air. I feel like that is something useful to have on off the bench. I love the fact I set up the loan filter there to try and find a centre-back. I've gone and signed a striker. To be fair, we kind of needed one of those. Liam Leggett is also loan listed here by Everton. I mean, he's another very serviceable player. He's left-footed as well. Oh, my word. He ticks all the boxes. Get him in. And he's cheap. Oh, my word. I'm so happy. I say he's cheap. He's not that cheap. They want him to be an important player. I can't guarantee that. I can't even really guarantee he's going to be a regular starter either. He'd probably be a ball-playing defender for us as well. There's a load of reasons why they're not going to like this loan deal, and they really don't want to do it with me. I mean, I've negotiated there for him to be a regular starter, but I feel like the issue with him here is if he's going to play as just a regular defensive centre-back, he'd have to replace Hoey. Maybe he does replace Hoey. The thing is, I think he probably gets recalled in January if I loan him with those terms. I think it says a lot that I'm looking at loanees here from Premier League clubs to solve my problem. Like, these are the hot youth prospects of teams I'm meant to be competing against. I'm looking at them as squad players, potentially even starters. Panagiotis here would be an option. Greek international. He actually looks quite good, although he is mega inconsistent. The issue here is the fact he's on £73,000 a week. And Manchester United expect me to front a lot of that. That one is not going to work, is it? Liam Leggett probably is the best option. My only issue with him is that I don't know if I'm going to be able to fulfill all the obligations I've promised. Maybe he starts at centre-back instead of Hoey. But he is left-footed, which I need. Striker in on loan, centre-back in on loan. Is there any other players that I could loan here that would actually be useful? Sellers here is a loan-listed centre-back at Bournemouth. Scottish international. I mean, he's not great. He's really not, no, I shouldn't be. I'm lowering my expectations and my what I need too far here. I'm just looking at centre-backs that I could actually buy. And to be honest, the lad from Everton is probably better than any of the players here. Everton have accepted our offers for Leggett and Meredith. Are Everton about to be my saviours? That might be the route we're heading into here. Will Lancashire as my record transfer does hurt my soul a little bit, but needs must. I had to do it. Ajari are injured. You know what? Suddenly it might be genius to have spent £17 million on a backup right back. It might be genius. If Ajari keeps getting injured, I'm going to be using him lots. Josh Griffiths, our backup goalkeeper, just had an offer from Wolves. I really don't want to sell this guy. He's a beyond solid centre-back, but now he's unhappy that I've not sold him. What would it take you to commit your future to the club? I want to feel like I'm an integral part of your side. If you can convince me I'm a star player, I'll stay. Part of me wants to just lie to him and tell him he's a star. Then maybe I can get him to sign a new contract. Is that manipulative? His current contract's for 2 years. I mean, the bid that they made, by the way, was poxy. They made a bid that barely totaled £1 million. I'd rather have an unhappy backup goalkeeper who I've promised to be a star and isn't. than lose him for £1 million. I really feel like he's that good. Now that I've promised that he's a star player, he's now asking for a contract. Of course, now he wants to sign a new deal. Of course. That is how it works, isn't it? His demands are slightly unreasonable. £22,000 is not cheap, although longer term for a backup goalkeeper, it's probably what I'm going to have to pay in the Premier League, isn't it? Does he want to sign? Tell you what, this is going to be very awkward when he realises he's not a star player. But you know what? I'm manipulative when it comes to players in Football Manager. He'll be fine, I'm sure. I mean, 22,000 is a lot. Do I definitely want to give him that? I feel like if I was to go through every other Premier League team and look at their backup goalkeepers' wages, I bet no one else's backup is on £20,000, are they? You know what? It's probably a reasonable sum in the grand scheme of things for my second choice goalkeeper. I say that. It's £22,000. He's currently on £4,000, so I'm paying him £18,000 more a week. It's calculator time, everyone. 18,000 times by 52. He's costing me £1 million more a year, but he is probably going to be unhappy down the line. You know what? I think it probably opens up the opportunity to sell him for more. If I sell him for £2 million next year, it's not cost me anything. That's the way I'm going to view it. Harvey Elliott still is a free agent. He wants to talk to me again. Harvey, have you lowered your wage demands? I don't think he has. £60,000 would be dreamy, Harvey. As soon as I get rid of the match highest earner, like, his demands just go through the roof, I've realised. I think that is the thing that he is including that's kind of really influencing how much he wants. I'm going to lower the minimum release clause to 50 million. Let's see, but I mean, we're close there. But the issue is, if he accepts a deal with all these release clauses, I'm probably going to have to offer him a new deal fairly soon after he signs this deal, assuming he settles in well, to try and remove them. I'm going to have to pay him more to do that. Oh, on the one hand, he'd be such a good signing. On the other hand, it's such a risk. But maybe it's just worth it. 78? I mean, it's a contract for Harvey Elliott offered. I don't know if I should do it or not. He would be such a good player at centre attacking mid in our system. But that £70,000 a week is going to make him double earning what our second highest earner is. I suppose the other thing to consider is that because he's got good reputation, him signing for us might help us longer term with attracting more players. He is really, really good. Nicky Meredith, by the way, is set to join us on loan from Everton. Great striker. Getting this guy on loan for the year? I do not mind if we do. The loan of Liam Leggett's been cancelled because I've hit my loan limit for the year. I didn't realise you could only loan one player from other Premier League teams. I mean, of the two, I think Nicky Meredith is the better player to loan in. Still does leave me with a gap at the centre-back position, though, doesn't it? I do feel like having now loaned Nicky Meredith for the year, I can maybe loan out Ollie Johnson. Ollie Johnson, I still don't know what the long-term plan with him is. There's some interest in him, and if we could get an offer of £10 million, I'd probably take it, even though we only signed him for £6 million. Teams just haven't really been offering near his value. I suppose I can offer him out now and see if anyone wants him on a permanent deal. If not, probably we'll just look to loan him out. By the way, the two goalkeeping coaches I mentioned right at the start of today's video have just got their work permits granted. We've got here Jarkko Tuismisto. I don't know, was that good? That sounded Finnish to me. Finnish viewers, let me know. And we also have Aubert. That's probably not how you say his name. They're both quite good goalkeepers. This guy used to be goalkeeping coach for PSG. He's probably best mates with Donnarumma. Right, before we end things today, I would love to get Harvey Elliott signed. I'd also love to find a centre-back. In terms of left-footed centre-backs options, Louis Binks here, who's a Scottish international, plays for Coventry, might not be the worst option in the world. Super consistent, loves important matches. He's not quick, but for £4 to £6 million, he ticks a lot of the boxes in terms of what we're looking for in a centre-back backup. I'm going to try and negotiate a deal here with instalments just to save me a few pennies if we can. And, well, we can. Hopefully his wage demands are going to remain reasonable. You can see here, I was looking at players with contracts expiring in the next year, reasonable left-footedness. He was one of the players on the list that we do actually have scouted. Of all these 2.5-star options, he is what I'd consider probably the best. Wants to be a squad player. I'm going to try and convince him to be an impact sub, but he's fine with that. His wage demands aren't too unreasonable. No relegation release clause either. I'll offer him a 4-year deal. He's 28, so he definitely could have 4 years in him. And he's accepted that. You know what, Louis? You're not the most flashy or exciting centre-back option, but he can defend. He's got very good mentals. And unlike half the defenders in our team, he does actually know how to mark people. So that's probably useful. We offered out Johnson just to see what kind of bids we could get. There is nothing over £5.5 million here. I'm not going to accept any of those. Instead, going to offer him out on loan for the year as an important player. Hopefully there's someone interested in picking him up. I am thinking about the contract situation with Aaron Ramsey. I kind of want to give him a new deal, but his demands are just so unreasonable. And on top of that, if I've got Harvey Elliott joining, he's going to be so much more of a squad player going forward. I mean, if I sign Harvey Elliott, there's a world where I actually look to cash in on Aaron Ramsey and moving on. Despite how good he was last year, I have to work on the assumption that Harvey Elliott is just going to be a much, much better player. When you look at the two of them head-to-head, there's a reason why Harvey Elliott I am actually willing to pay over £70,000 for. Josh Griffiths, our goalkeeper we've lied to, has signed a new deal. That's good. Hopefully he realises sooner rather than later that he's a backup, but I feel like he's worth tying on for a few more years. Like I mentioned, his new contract comes in at just shy of £1 million a year. Obviously, we were having offers of £1 million that he wanted to move on for, unless I gave him the wage rise. I've given him the wage rise, still a future where we sell him. If we do sell him, just need to try and sell him for a few million. In some other news, Nelson Abbey is willing to reopen talks. Of course you are, mate. You and your unreasonable wage demands, you've wasted your opportunity, you've missed it. I mean, look, I know Binks isn't as quick running forward, but he's quite good with the ball at his feet. I feel like there's not a world of difference between these guys, except for the fact Binks is way, way cheaper. Okay, good news. Loan offers made for Ollie Johnson, and I can see there are some championship teams making offers here. This feels promising. I'm not too worried about the finances on the loan. Really, it's about the playing time. There's a few teams here offering him the role of an important player like Huddersfield. That's the kind of team I want to loan him to. Huddersfield and Middlesbrough will accept those offers. As for Reading and Swansea, only a regular starter and squad player. Get out of here. Crystal Palace make offer for Harvey Elliott. Can you imagine? After all of everything I've been through, after all the pain and suffering, if he now goes to Crystal Palace, I'm going to cry. Before I cry and have a breakdown, at least Louis Binks has signed for us. I mean, to be fair, with Binks' signing, I feel like we now have a squad. Harvey Elliott would kind of be the cherry on top. An unnecessary cherry, but sometimes cherry adds good flavour. And I'll be honest, he would be a really nice dash of quality in our team, wouldn't he? But if nothing else happens, here's the team. Okay, it's 2 weeks till the season starts. There is no other signings other than Harvey Elliott going on. And Harvey Elliott isn't even going on. He has signed for them for £52,000. I offered him like 78, I thought. It's just not fair, is it? They've signed him on £52,000 a week, 4-year deal, no release clauses, none of the nonsense he was asking me to give him. How could I not be a little bit miffed? That does leave us now in terms of transfers going on, just donezo. Obviously, I'm going to continue to look to loan out Ollie Johnson, but I feel like we're kind of just done now, heading into the new season. Of course, to kick off next episode, we will do a little bit of a squad rundown, but I feel like it's going to be a weird squad rundown because really, there's no new faces at the club. It is very, very familiar faces. Of course, Lancashire is one big new addition to the club. Our opening game of the season is on the 17th of August, so it's still over 2 weeks away. In that game, we take on Everton. Following on from that, we actually play Leeds United. Of course, Everton last year, if we just look at things, finished in 11th place. Leeds didn't finish higher than us. They finished behind us. So 2 games I kind of want to view as winnable. I might be being a little bit deluded. I have no doubt in my mind that this transfer window is going to have been divisive in terms of where I've spent the money, how I've spent the money. I could have sat on my hands and not spent the money like we did last January, but I'd rather go out there, overspend and bring in a bit of added quality and hope it makes a difference. That is what I'm hoping is going to happen. I don't want to be in the relegation zone going into the final 4 games of the year next year. Go down in the comments and let me know what you think of the last couple of transfer specials, the deals we've done. Rate the transfer window on an A to F schedule. Just write a single letter comment. It lets me know that you are watching the video to the end. Of course, some of you cheeky sods out there, you've skipped to the end. If you did that, you should go back. Stuff happened. I mean, you're seeing the stuff that happened, but don't ruin it for yourself. We will be back next time to kick off the Premier League season. Hope you guys are ready for it. I think I am now. Yeah, I'll talk to you then. I'm out.